As you sit back, you begin to notice how easily your thoughts can shift, how one idea leads to another, and how your mind opens to the possibilities of change, transformation and growth. You might begin to realize your mind is constantly filtering information, always seeking patterns, always making connections, just as your subconscious mind works in the background, shaping your reality with the beliefs and perceptions you've acquired over time. Have you ever noticed how at times a simple statement can spark a profound shift in your thinking? Just like when you hear something unexpected and it seems to land deeply within you. Almost like an instant knowing, a sudden understanding. The mind, you see, is always searching for meaning, seeking to make sense of experiences, and in that moment it can shift rapidly, as though a new possibility is already on its way to becoming your new truth. It's curious, isn't it, how belief systems are formed. You can think of them as little seeds planted in the soil of your mind, nurtured by the experiences you encounter, watered by your emotions, and fed by the repetition of the stories that you tell yourself. Now consider how sometimes those beliefs, they can come from the most unexpected places, from the emotions that arise when you're confronted with something that feels deeply threatening, or perhaps comforting. And how these emotions, those charged responses, they can bypass your conscious filters and implant themselves as beliefs at the deepest level of your mind. And you might begin to notice how once those beliefs take root, it almost feels impossible to challenge them. Have you ever found yourself defending a belief, even when you logically know there's evidence to the contrary? It's as if something within you, something beyond logic, holds on tightly, protecting that belief as part of your identity. That's the fascinating thing about the human mind. It wants to feel safe. It wants to make sense of the world, even if it means holding on to beliefs that no longer serve you. And that is when you realize, almost with a sense of wonder, that change doesn't always come from facts, from logical arguments, or from data. It comes from the subtle, powerful shifts in perception. Picture this. Imagine how, when a strong emotional response is triggered, your mind begins to shift, almost automatically, into a new mode of processing. It's as if you're not consciously deciding to believe something, but rather the emotional state you're in aligns with a belief that shifts at the moment. And once that belief is encoded, it doesn't simply fade away. It becomes a part of you, a lens through which you see the world. It's almost like wearing glasses that colour everything you perceive, whether you're aware of them or not. And then there's something else you might notice. How the repetition of a belief, through media, through language, through conversation, is solidified into your subconscious mind. And as you absorb more of it, you begin to feel it in your body, as if your entire being is aligning with this new truth. Isn't it remarkable how the mind can create entire systems of belief, systems that seem unshakable, all through the power of emotional charge and repetition? But here's where things get even more intriguing. You may have noticed how the media or certain influential figures can invoke an emotional response: fear, excitement, hope, urgency. And once that emotional state is activated, it's as if your critical thinking abilities take a back seat, allowing the emotional intensity to lead. That is when the real power of influence comes into play. When the suggestion, the belief, or the idea slides right past your conscious filters and takes root. And as you think about this now, you might begin to realize just how easily your thoughts can be influenced. How those subtle suggestions, even those seemingly small actions, can lead you to adopt beliefs that feel true to you, without you even consciously realizing it. It's almost like the way you breathe, so natural, so automatic, and yet, once those beliefs are in place, they shape your decisions, your actions, your reality. You might notice, too, how people who are deeply connected to their own sense of purpose, their own identity, can begin to influence others without even trying. You see, when someone is deeply aligned with their beliefs, when their posture, their energy, their words are in harmony with their truth, they can easily draw others into their orbit. It's if their energy they radiate aligns with yours, creating a sense of connection, of trust, of rapport. And once that rapport is established, it's almost as though you can't help but listen, as if their words resonate deeply, like a sound that echoes in your mind, long after the conversation has ended. Now consider how this rapport can be built through subtle unconscious cues, mirroring body language, matching speech patterns, and even synchronizing heartbeats. It's as if the two people, or more, are vibrating at the same frequency. And once that synchronization happens, influence becomes almost effortless. It's like you're speaking the same language, without needing to use words. And as you become more aware of this, you might begin to notice how, in your own life, certain individuals can effortlessly guide you, even when you're not consciously aware of it. Isn't it fascinating how the body and the mind can become so in tune, so aligned, that influence seems to happen without any force, any resistance? That's the power of entrainment, of synchronization. Just like how two metronomes placed side by side will begin to move in harmony, you too can find yourself moving in rhythm with some people, without even trying. And once that happens, it's as if your mind is more open, more receptive to the ideas, the beliefs, and the suggestions that flow between you. And as you reflect on this, you may start to recognize how easily beliefs can be shaped by these patterns, how emotions, when triggered, can shift your thoughts, your actions, and even your identity. And as you recognize this, you may find yourself more attuned to the subtle shifts in your own beliefs, the way your mind moves from one thought to another, from one belief to another, like a gentle current that guides you along the river of your own experiences. And in this moment, you can also see how, through awareness, you can begin to break free from those unconscious influences, recognizing when the patterns are being used to shape your perception. You might find yourself noticing the emotional triggers, the shifts in your thinking. With that awareness, you can make a choice to allow the influence to pass by without it taking root, or to embrace the change and shape it into something new, something empowering, something that aligns with your highest self. But think for a moment about the beliefs you've accepted as your own, the ones that shape your identity, the ones you hold dear. What if you could gently, effortlessly shift those beliefs, just like turning a dial, adjusting the volume of a radio, until you find the frequency that resonates perfectly with your deepest desires? And as you imagine that, you might notice how your mind begins to open, how you become more attuned to the possibility of transformation, of becoming the person you've always wanted to be, more powerful, more aligned, more in tune with your true self. As you move forward, you may find it's not about eliminating the influences that are around you, but rather becoming aware of them, understanding how they work, and using that knowledge to guide your own path. Because after all, once you're aware of the patterns, the processes, the beliefs that shape your reality, you can choose which ones you embrace, which ones you let go, and which ones you transform into something that serves you better, something that empowers you to create the life that you truly desire.